So you guys must have heard about this phenomenon that why do people look so much younger today than if you roll back time, look at faces back from the 70s, from the 60s.
Yeah, you look at the cast of Cheers and they were all in their 30s and they looked about 50.
Yeah.
Like they just lived a different life then.
Yeah, and there's a great video by Vsauce where he analyzes this because if you go back to yearbook photos from the 1950s, these 18-year-old boys, they look like straight up men, grown men, and they have very sort of mature looks to their face. And he does a full analysis of why that's the case, that we all look so much younger now. But I think one of the biggest reasons is that life was much harder back then than it is now. And the way life ages a person, depending on what they see, if they have a very soft, cushy life, you can see the difference on a person's face. And, I like even in Lion King, they show when Simba is young, he's like grown into his full size, but he has this look on his face. It's very dopey. He's very immature. You can see that. But when he has a couple of battles and he like comes into his own and his responsibility, then his face changes. It hardens. It looks closer to his father's face. He has that same level of determination that his father did. And I think that that's what happened to men a lot more when you look at someone like Gary Cooper, you look at Clint Eastwood, all these actors, Rock Hudson, you can see that sort of grit built into their face. Yes, they were good looking, but there was also that what you guys are talking about, that the psychological masculinity. You could feel the strength radiating just from their gaze. And I think that's definitely missing from Hollywood, but I think in general it's really gone away from our society.
Yes, I mean, it's important to say that that's not exclusively a bad thing, given that if hard, tough life experience ages people what we would now consider to be prematurely, then the fact that people now look so much younger, incidentally also live quite a bit longer, suggests that we've made a little bit of progress. And actually, this is the sign of comfort in society. We can actually afford to do things like skincare, for example, in the way that perhaps in the 1950s you couldn't. We don't necessarily have to go off and fight wars in Korea in the same way that the 1950s we did. Like, there are good things to have come out of this modernity thing as well. I think sometimes need to be stressed. There is, of course, like the old thing about soft times creating weak men creating hard times, and all the rest of that. And there is this anxiety, I suppose, that maybe we're in the soft times period. But to drop some deep lore, as in like ancient Greek lore, there's actually a play called, I think it's Ecclesiastes, Aristophanes' play, when basically the exact same point is being made that we're now arguing about, or talking about at least, which is that the premise is that a load of women dress up as men and they go and take over the Senate and they rule the city. And they immediately institute effectively kind of sex communism, where all the women get to sleep with whoever they want and everyone's equal. There's no capitalism, there's no private property. And Aristophanes is trying to satirize what at the time was perceived by certain people, I think in Athens, as being the excessive youthful womanliness of the caliber of the men of that city. So that it comes in these recurring rounds, and we seem to sort of be in one of those anxiety stages at the moment. And you can see why, because we are not particularly well run as a society at the moment. So I can understand why people get a little bit upset when they see seemingly immature people making terrible decisions for them. But I think you can go too far the other way in stressing the importance and the greatness of old-fashioned manly civic virtue. I think that comes with a lot of unpleasant side effects that we are quite well off without.
I think we've also got a decent selection of men still, right? Like I assume because Carl Urban, for example, is pretty awesome. Chris Pratt is they're both still working. They're both, in fact, names that might pop up in things that we'd be like, oh shit, cool. Like Carl Urban being in Mortal Kombat is like, oh, that's neat. Chris Pratt as Barrio will still be the funniest announcement like ever.
Everyone lost their mind that day.
I mean, like again, Chris Pratt. Like I wouldn't hold him up as a bastion of masculinity or anything. Like he's, he's kind of a comedy actor, and he's trying his hand at drama, and he can play it to a degree.
Really?
And so I'm not going to take that away from him. But yeah, he's not.
You don't think
he's
like
the fucking Clint Eastwood of our time?
No, of course. Why would you compare it to like the manliest man? But like Jason Statham, he's almost cartoonishly man's man, right?
Yeah.
He's still around. Tom Hardy's still around doing stuff. What do you think about Oscar Isaac? Someone like that?
Yeah, I think he's quite masculine.
they've done their best to, like, in those Star Wars movies, the way they try to get him to be.
This is the problem. Like when you see it, fucking Star Wars, fucking what was that shitty Disney Plus show he was in? Moon Knight.
Oh, Moon Knight. Yeah.
Again, like I don't know if it's his agent or whatever, but yeah, like Despot says, they've done everything in their power to fucking like neuter his masculinity. Which is a shame because
in June, like that could have been so fucking iconic. Like his performance in June was great. Like he does play that masculine ideal. Give him more of those roles. He in another age, the man would have been an icon.
And he's got the most epic fucking beard I think I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
man. Like it just doesn't stop.
It grows well.
It's beautiful.
It just doesn't quit. But yeah, like I think he's fine. I'd like to see him in more roles that play to that aspect.
Oh, sure.
Of his personality.
All I'm getting at is that they're hiring him. He's still in stuff. And to be honest, like I said, he was my favorite part of Dune 1.
But then we've got the problem of they miscast other characters into roles where you should have a hyper masculine actor. And I'm going to keep coming back to this. Fucking Pedro Pascal was horribly miscast in Last of Us. I'm just going to say it. He
have you played the games? Because I haven't played them, so I don't have the source material comparison.
Played both of them, and he is not Joel. He's not Joel. I mean, I think in terms of the general structure and like the events that they cover, I think the season 1 of The Last of Us is a pretty good summary of the game. I think it does cover it really well. I just don't think he or Bella Ramsey are good casting for their respective roles. And I just cannot buy him as a tough, rugged survivalist. He doesn't have that look about him. He doesn't embody that in his performance or in his personality.
Didn't people quite
you're never gonna get me sold on him.
When he was Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones, though, wasn't he? I mean, he wasn't like the most masculine character in the world, but he was, skilled fighter, powerful, like rugged after a fashion.
He was more of a flamboyant kind of sword fighter, but
hedonistic.
Stop. Let's slow right down. This is the problem. The hatred for Pedro Pascal has now bled into all of his work. If we can remember,
I'll give him his dues. Like he was pretty good in Narcos.
No,
but then
I'm not even going to talk about that. Like Game of Thrones, he was fucking intense and intimidating. That was his role. He came to get revenge. He wanted to kill Tywin on the mountain. That was his explicit purpose. He was trying to fucking terrify everyone there. He was not flamboyant.
Well, the point of his character is it wasn't about rugged masculinity. That's not what his character was. He was a man. It was a person who wanted revenge. That was essentially it.
But certainly intimidating, threatening, and he could hold his own, which was really impressive. Like he could fight the mountain and win, which is beyond impressive. Obviously, his ego gets the better of him. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? He's so obsessed with getting justice for his family that it ends up killing him, which is just standard Game of Thrones writing. But I don't know. I'd never be able to agree with horribly miscast. If we were talking about horribly miscast, we'd have fucking like Melissa McCarthy as Joel. Like that's the level I would scale. I'd say he's I would happily concede. I prefer Game Joel, and I don't think they're the same character. Show Joel and Game Joel, but I think he did a really good job. Some of the scenes where not only is he acting his heart out, but also the scenes where he's torturing people or killing people, like I think he pulls off the intimidation just fine. Bella Ramsey, okay.
I mean, sorry. Like I know this just comes down to a matter of personal preference, but I whenever I see him doing things like that, I see an actor trying to play the role of a tough guy rather than a person who actually naturally fits into that role. He doesn't embody that.
What do you think of him as Oberyn then?
As Oberyn, I thought he was good. Yeah, I mean, like he again. For playing that character, for playing a guy who was obsessed with just getting revenge, takes it too far, his ego gets the better of him, and ultimately, gets undone by it.
His first scene, he tries to scare off and intimidate 2 Lannisters just with his voice, his presence, and then he stabs one of them with a dagger. Do you remember?
I don't actually remember that.
I recommend.
I would need to rewatch it.
Yeah, because. I don't know. I watching all of his scenes as Oberyn is fun. Like as a rewatch, and right before Game of Thrones went to shit, because he does a really good job. What else would there be? Like, I have a feeling that we've reflexively elastic banded and we hate him way more than he deserves just because he keeps popping up in everything because Hollywood wants to hire him for everything. Like
he's getting retconned.
Well, this is the thing. His role as Oberyn was fantastic. Like I knew the character because I'd read the books already, and I was very apprehensive about them getting it right. And I didn't know him, except for cameos in places. But I was like, shit, this guy nailed it.
It is a fascinating psychological phenomenon when fans retcon something that they used to like in the past because of something new, like with Drinker and Ghostbusters. Because when I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, I thought I kind of reluctantly thought it was shit. I wanted to like it because I hated Ghostbusters 16 so much, and I felt this movie's heart was in the right place, but I never liked it. I was almost ashamed of the fact that I disliked it, and now I like the fact that I hate it. Because the new movie is such garbage.
Well, and I don't blame anybody. Like Kevin Spacey, if someone says like I fucking hate the movies he's a part of now, I'd be like, that's fair. Like I don't really blame you for that, But if and that's the other thing, if someone said like, well, he pisses me off because I think about the things he said in real life, I'd be fine with that too. But I don't want to take away from his abilities as an actor.
But I mean, American Beauty is never going to stop being a brilliant film, and he's never going. The performance by him is never going to be anything other than excellent.
Well, Kevin Spacey's amazing at playing villains. Gotta go wonder on that one.
I do like this one. Pedro Pascal's a male Millie Bobby Brown. They keep trying to shove him into everything.
No, but I think Pedro can act and she can scream, and that's the different thing.
She can scream and she can cry.
She can cry, that's true.
And like, wow, they really make use of that in everything that she's in. But yeah, Pedro, it's a frustrating one. I know he's a good actor, but I know that there's certain things that naturally fit his personality better, and it's not everything. And Joel isn't one of them. And I feel
he was cast as Mr. in the Fantastic Four. What do you think of that?
I don't know at this point, but I think it kind of bleeds into that general Pascal fatigue that I'm feeling, where I'm just like, yeah, of course, I guess you were going to cast him because he's in fucking everything. I think it's probably better suited to his sensibilities as an actor than someone like Joel. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about seeing him because I'm not enthusiastic about seeing him in really anything right now.
I never would have cast him as Mr. Fantastic. One, because I don't think he's quite right for it. Two, nobody wants to see him right now. He's been in too much stuff. They need to put him on the shelf for a little bit.